Welcome to episode 5 of Stratford Life with Joe Draper
and Edward Lowe. We've got another fun-packed episode for you today. We've got in our Love Local section, I will be going out to have a chat with Caroline Conrad. Some of you will know her. She is a health and beauty expert. She's been in the town for 30 years practicing, but we want to tell you about some aspects of her business that you might not already know about. Ed will be talking in his stat chat about if there was another crash, what the impact that would have on Stratford house prices. So that's something to stay glued for. We'll also have our buy-to-let deal and, of course, home styling tip. Now, this week's tip is really quite special because it's actually one of our viewers' tips. So thanks to Alistair and Anna for getting in touch with us. Don't want to spill the beans too soon, so we'll show you that a little bit later on.
Indeed, yeah. Thank you again for that. It's a great tip. So thanks for Anna and Alistair again for that.
So you've been a little bit quiet so far, Ed. Everything okay?
If only you lot could see what happened when the camera isn't on, all the conversations that happen, it'd be brilliant. No, I'm not. You know I'm not. I've got hives, which I'm very annoyed about. So you take your kids to Cotswold Wildlife Park, and that's how you get repaid.
I don't think you can blame the children.
No, it's not their fault, technically,
I don't think that's not fair.
No, well, give it a go, probably.
But apparently it's not contagious, so we're all good.
Yeah, Joe checked that, and she Googled that, just in case she wasn't sure. So she didn't tell me she did that, she just Googled it. But no, it's not contagious. So
I was definitely going to check, otherwise it'd just be that.
Yeah.
But no, in a shop today.
And I'm going to put a disclaimer in, this could be why this show might be a bit random, because my medicine that I'm on does... Medication? It's not medication. I just got it from the pharmacy. It's not really that serious. But it does say I might be confused, so it's a bit sad and actually read that side effect.
Well,
but I thought that was kind of like me anyway.
That could just be the start of the list.
See, this is what I've got to deal with.
Moving on to our Love
Beat me when I'm
section.
down.
Hi Caroline, it's great to see you. Thanks for welcoming us to Avon House Health and Beauty. Great for you to spare some time. I know you're really, really busy. What we're here today is just to explain to people. I know lots of people recognise your face, lots of people know your name, but if you can just put us into the picture of where we are now, where we're situated and what we're doing.
Okay, so most people remember Bodyline on the Banbury Road, which was quite an iconic salon, and
absolutely,
a lot of the girls that are in business in the town worked for me, which is still lovely because there's still a nice connection with them. And obviously,
and you were kind of like their mentor, really.
Well, I'd like to think so. Yeah, I think
inspiring.
They would say that I probably helped them on the way, but it was a lovely atmosphere there. But sadly, that was finished in 2009, and so I was a bit of a wanderer at the time then, and so then I found this premises with Pam Rice, who's a chiropodist, and we developed it into a lovely clinic, and it's perfect because it's slightly out of town, but not too far.
I think that's what you want in a way, though, isn't it? Yeah. Because you obviously want to be able to know that you're going to be able to arrive on time, park easily, so you haven't got any stress that's then going to hinder your relaxation of your treatment. And also, when you've had your treatment, you're not thinking, oh, who am I going to see? Haven't got makeup on, I've got on my face, so that's perfect.
They can just jump into the car and go home. And equally with Pam's clients, some of them are quite elderly, so they can actually, and it's a great disabled point because we've got disabled facilities here as well. So it works very well. We've been here just over 3.5 years, and we love it. And clients that I've had from Bodyline days back from 1994 when I first started, I'm now seeing their children.
Fabulous. So it's a whole journey in sort of in terms of the people,
which makes
not
me feel
just
a bit
the brand.
old, but
just forget that bit.
So, but it's nice to have that connection, and that's why I feel very at home living in Stratford, and because we have a great business to business connection here with other businesses in Stratford.
Yeah, and that all feeds through, doesn't it? And also you will get a certain amount of client referrals, which is great. And that's always nice that, you know, someone's had a great experience, but generally it's when they've had great results. That's when they want to pass it on to others. Not everybody wants to, because some of them want to keep the secrets to themselves, which you can kind of understand
and
that
I
as well.
can understand that, and you know, that's part of the course. But you know, through through the connection and the networking that I have got through my clients of, you know, nearly 25 years, then that has occurred really. Yeah. And it's funny because if I am in the town, I haven't seen somebody that used to come to Bolton, they go, oh, they can't remember the name, but Bodyline, and that's what they sort of recognise me for. So that's really endearing. And
I think also as time's gone on from them, you've always been sort of at the forefront of any sort of new technologies, any new products and techniques, but really sort of specialising on those so that you can create like a prescriptive bespoke product for each individual, which you wouldn't always get at other sort of beauty businesses. So it's a very different in that sense, isn't it? So do you want to tell us a bit about that?
What I wanted to do when I moved here was to generate this bespoke facial and treatments, because every client's skin is different, and I want to give them and deliver to them what I feel they're going to go out and say the next day, wow, I've had the best experience, my skin feels amazing, I look great. And that was my whole sort of ethos for what I do. Plus the new technology now with microneedling, I've got a Skin Precision treatment, which is amazing, and the results are very, very driven. It actually is a massive collagen induction, which nothing else can ever do.
So what would that be used for? What kind of conditions would that help
that sort of rebalance? That can be used on everybody's skin, providing their medical history allows me to do it. So we always have to do a consultation prior to the treatment because certain people can't have that. Yeah. But most skins, old, new, young, acne treatments, scarring. So it's like a problem shooter, but also if your skin sort of seems that it's in relatively good condition, it will also give it a boost as well. You know, I always say 3 of those treatments and you are turning the clock back by about 10 years, because the amount of skin cell activity that's generated in the skin for from collagen, from all the masses of new skin cells, the skin just looks vibrant, it looks fresh. So for me, I know that I can give that to the client, and for fine lines, wrinkles, pigmentation. So it covers amazing amounts.
And you're going to actually get the results.
You're going to get really, really amazing results with that. And it takes about an hour and a half, the treatment. It's not uncomfortable at all because I do numb the skin. But the client goes away with a 48-hour downtime, that is all. But from there on, their skin, over the 6 weeks, it's still regenerating new skin cells. So basically it's putting the skin into trauma. I know that sounds...
So that's how it works then?
Yeah. Okay. But the needles are going in precision, so it's not slicing, it goes in directly, perpendicular to the skin, and it generates a trauma, which then puts the skin into a massive healing.
Okay, so it's a really, it's quite an unusual process, isn't it? But when you explain it, it kind of does make sense. Yeah. But it's hard to get your head around it when you think, oh, don't quite get that. Yeah. But yeah, that does make sense. What else do you do here, Caroline, that's sort of a little bit different to the other salons?
Specialise in electrolysis and advanced electrolysis. Now, you know, that's been around for a long time, and I've been trained in that for over 35 years. So that's something that becomes quite good. I know I love doing my electrolysis, and I've had some fantastic results with that. So yes, that's another really good treatment. My skincare that I offer is the Illumia.
Okay,
and this is a product that comes in from Canada.
Right,
and, it's given to specialist therapists like myself.
And it isn't a product that any salon could have, is it, at all? It's more of a clinical product.
No, it isn't. So you have to have a special training for it. There's it's a bespoke, again, treatment for
So it's an add-on to get the maximum of the treatment.
So I can do the treatment in the salon, and also I can offer you the products to take home. But again, it would need a full consultation and a prescription I put together.
Because it needs to be worked right, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's all about retinol and peptides, which are the buzzword in the industry.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, what I would say is, you know, for anybody that wants to know a little bit more, the best thing to do is really to contact you. On phone is ideal, email, and then you can arrange a consultation, really find out what the needs are. Obviously check out the Facebook page and also the Instagram page, and then book a consultation and come along and see you.
So my website has got everything on there, and there is a sort of contact information form on there as well.
That's great. Thanks so much for your time. That's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great interview there. I thought that was really interesting from having no prior knowledge of clearly
or experience.
Yeah, well, indeed. Well, how do you know? No, you're right.
I was being judgmental there. I'm sorry. I will try not to do that in future.
Judge me correctly. Well done. Yes, but it is really interesting to show these businesses that are sort of tucked away little places and all the different varieties of services they offer. It's great. So,
and I think that's probably one of the key factors, because you wouldn't necessarily know it's there, but that's one of the benefits as a user, because not only have you got parking, you are close to the centre of town, but also when you've had your treatment and you haven't got your makeup on, you might be looking a bit red-faced. Sorry to talk about skin conditions again. You can just get in the car and go home, so that's a really perfect benefit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the parking's a big thing there, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it is just so difficult. You can get out and then you can just pop in, pop out. And,
exactly. You're not sort of walking around getting parking tickets and things like that.
So what do you think is the most unique sort of treatment then that you wouldn't really expect to get?
The interesting thing with Caroline, she's always sort of a few steps ahead of the game. So when there is a new procedure or there's a new technique out on the market, she will make sure that she's one of the first people to go out, study it, train it, and then be able to pass that knowledge on to a client. So, we've talked about the skin pen, which is micro needling, which is, can be used for all different sorts of conditions, as you could see.
Nice.
So I would, we didn't ask her that. So I'll give her a call and ask her. Yeah.
Find out. In this episode Stat Chat, we are going to be looking at what has happened to the property market since the crash of 2009, and also what would happen if it crashed now. So really interesting insight, I think, this one. So let's jump straight in and we can go through it. Well, firstly, what would be useful to do is see what happened last time and the effect that that actually had on the market, and then we'll go forward and see if we had another one, what that might mean. The reason why I'm doing this, I'm getting asked this quite a lot at the moment, because I think there's obviously still a little bit of uncertainty around the B word, which I'll try not to mention too many times, but inevitably it is going to come up. Little warning for you there. But firstly, let's have a look at what happened last time. So this is the credit crunch 2008-2009. Well, the UK, so this isn't Stratford, which I'll talk about in a second, but the UK dropped on average 18.37%, which is a pretty phenomenal figure. Now, what I would say, we're not immune in Stratford, but we're certainly more protected. So that number was more around just into double digits, around about 10%. So it wasn't quite as severe as the rest of the UK felt, which is obviously a good thing. Which means why Stratford is a popular area to be. But what would a no-deal Brexit mean? Well, obviously this is all at the front of everyone's mind still, which is, I know, quite boring to mention, but it's still fairly relevant nonetheless. I think the reality is a no-deal Brexit would be no different to the other crashes. And as you can see, I mean, it's not like this would be the first time. 2008, 2009, 1988, 1974 and 1951. The fact is, what you tend to find, the market goes in cycles. So inevitably, at some point in the future, although we don't know when it might be, we're probably going to have another house market crash. That's not scaremongering, that is just a fact. If you look back through history, it has always gone in cycles. So at some point in time, although I don't know when it will be, that is probably going to happen. I think the difference is what you've got to look at is around the economy at the time when these things happen, because that has a huge bearing in the bounce back ability. Love that word. And so I think the difference this time round, probably before, we've got lower interest rates, which is obviously a big thing. We'll jump into it a bit more detail in a second. Another round of quantitative easing. I think what you will find is that the bounce back will be quicker also because people will see, savvy buyers anyway, will see opportunities to get some really good bargains out there. But let me kind of go through the reasons why I think we bounce back a bit quicker. So obviously, if you recall, when the whole Brexit thing came out in 2016, most people predicted then that the house price is going to drop. I think Mark Carney was the one actually that said about 30%, which we all know now was nonsense and it hasn't happened and didn't happen. But I think what would be quite good is just to say, well, okay, well, if it did happen, what's the result in these, what are the knock-on effects, and how quickly do things then recover? So what I've done is this lovely little chart, so a bit like a traffic light system. The red is the value in 2009, Then what I've done, so broken down by style of house, detached, semi, terrace, apartment. Then we looked at the average value as of we are today, so you can see it's pretty high. Then what we've done is we assume the average in Q2 by 2020. So this is if there's a crash. Now, I've been quite severe on this because I've applied the same reduction that we saw the UK have in 2008-2009, which is the 18.37%, which, as we know, didn't happen in Stratford, but we've been over generous there to take that adjustment. And then finally, what we've done, since 2009 to 2014, we had growth. So we applied the same growth of what we had in that period between 2020 and 2024, 2025. So basically the bounce back. And as you can see, property prices returned fairly strongly. And so I think we've discussed this in probably other stat chats, that basically the reality is a property should also always be seen as a fairly long, medium, certainly to long-term investment. And so when you do it like that and you think in those ways, then actually you're not really that exposed to the risk. It's only if you're trying to turn it in a short period of time. So it's quite interesting to see that the bounce back is quite quick, and that's just basically applying the logic that we know has happened in history and just moving it forward into the future. But I think with all these assumptions, there are things that we haven't taken into consideration. You've got China with the amount of debt that's running around there at the moment. So there are other factors that we haven't completely taken in. But I think when you look at the last 80 years and the crash we've had, I do generally believe that the bounce back would be quicker, and I've given you broken down 7 reasons why I believe that is going to be the case. So number 1, and I think this is possibly the most important, why it's at number 1. When we had the crash 2008-2009, one of the biggest problems with that was what they call toxic debt, which is basically where lenders were lending irresponsibly. So you could self-cert your own mortgage, which basically meant you told the bank what you earned, even if you didn't, signed it off, and they'd go, yeah, that's fine. So it doesn't take a genius to realise there was going to come a point in time when that was just going to collapse. There's a lot more stringent rules around that now. Low inflation is another one. You've got low mortgage rates. I mean, what's really interesting now, if you look at this, is the current Brit is now paying 2.26%, which is incredibly cheap when you bear in mind previous rates. I mean, even not that long ago, it was sort of 4 or 5% the standard, so it was half that. So that's another big key reason why I say that bounce back could be quick. Wages are forecast to go up, which obviously hopefully a good thing, and most importantly, unemployment is dropping. So in 2011, when we were kind of just coming out the teeth of it, it was at 8.4%, and now it's at 4%. So that has a major bearing on the ability to clearly buy a house. Number 6 is the percentage of Brits on fixed rate mortgages. A lot of people were on interest onlys by then, so never paying the capital off, whereas now they're on fixed. It's a lot stringent again about that, so you're paying off the capital and the interest as you roll through the month to month. And I think, look, at the end of the day, the reality is that the market as it is, when it did crash previously, particularly in 2008-2009, the market at that period was just flying. And when I mean that, I mean properties were selling at such pace. I mean, I distinctly remember there was a period where we had it where somebody got in the car, followed our board contractor, that's the people that stick the for sale boards up, to find out where they'd gone, just so they could get first in on it. And it was just so overheated at that point that it was just always going to eventually come to an abrupt halt, which in fact it did. We're not really seeing that now. It's a lot more balanced, and the trend is more consistent but at a slower pace. And so I think that those 2 big things really, firstly, they show you that it's a much slimmer chance, if at all really, that it's going to happen. But secondly, I think if it did, then the bounce back is going to be really quick. So I don't think that it should be something that people should be hugely worried by. And the reality is, I think that as long as you're moving in relative markets, it actually doesn't really matter. And in some respects, if you're trying to trade up, you actually want a little bit of a drop because the price that you're going to buy becomes cheaper. So if obviously the market goes up 10%, that property then gets further away from you. If it drops, it gets nearer to you. So if you're trading up, it's actually a very good time to be doing it. And what does it mean for landlords? Well, I think the reality is we get asked this question. I certainly get asked this question all the time. Should I sell my property? Is it the right time to buy in Stratford? If not, where else do I buy? And are there any bargains out there? Well, I discuss this on a daily basis, so if those questions resonate with you and you want the answers to them, please feel free, give us a shout and we can have a discussion.
Thanks for a great stat chat once again. I think the interesting part of these is that we always have something to sort of think about and perhaps be a springboard to even research and get a bit more information, which of course people could always contact you as well if they want to have a bit of a chat about it and sort of move things further along.
Yeah, definitely. I think invariably as well, we try to give a really genuine balanced opinion. I think when you look at a lot of the press articles, they're always trying to grab headlines. So the reality of these things, often they're never as bad as they'll make them out to be.
Yeah.
So hopefully this just gives everybody a slightly more comfort in the fact that obviously it's quite a dramatic headline in a way that we've said about what would happen if the prices crash, but I think the content really goes to show that if it does happen, that it's not going to be that bad, and the chance it probably won't anyway, but if it did, then it's not going to be that bad and it won't last that long. And do you know what the reality is? I think in one of the previous stat chats we said about the average length of people living in a house before they move is sort of 25 years. So the reality is, you can see we recover so quickly, the housing market recovers so quickly.
It seems to recover a lot quicker than the anticipated time that's set out initially. So that's one common factor that seems to run through each scenario actually, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the reality is, as I said, it's kind of one of those things, you see the dramatic entry point, but then no one sort of looks at the exit point, and the exit point obviously is the important bit because that's the recovery, and that often happens a lot quicker than people think. And as I say, the recovery in the housing market, this isn't the first time some things like this happen, and it won't be the last. It's just a repeatable cycle that always will happen.
Yeah,
so it's
and it
not
will be one thing or another thing.
Yeah,
it's just that there's always going to be a different factor that's coming into play.
Yeah, it's like my hives, they come, they go. Hopefully they won't come back.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
This is the first time I've had these, I will point out. I'm not there. Warwickshire landlords, I am out and about braving this pretty awful weather, I've got to be honest. I'm going to get absolutely drenched on this one as I'm standing underneath the tree, so it's going to be quite funny. So where am I? Well, I'm at St John's Court in Stratford, which is a stone's throw from the town centre, and behind me is a first floor 2-bedroomed apartment with living room, kitchen and refitted bathroom. This property is currently on the market for a slightly strange price of $159,250. Don't ask me why. It comes with no upward chain. These properties always rent very well to a professional couple given the location to the town. It should rent out for a rental of around about £750 per calendar month. So even after you take off the service charge, which is approximately £1,000 a year, it's going to give you a net yield of around about 5%, which is great. The reasons why I love it, well, although architecturally it may not be everyone's taste, what you can't deny with this one, as they also have property, is location, location, location. It is literally a stone's throw from the town centre, and really that's as good as you can get. It's very quiet here. You get a garage on block, which is obviously a massive bonus, and so really that is why it's my choice for this week. I think it's a brilliant property. I'd very much recommend you can have a look. There is no upward chain with it. It's got a really long lease, 999 years, so it's perfect for that reason as well. It's on the market with Peter Clark's, so I suggest get in touch, give him a call, come and have a look at it, see what you think. And now I'm going to get inside so I get involved. Cheers.
That was another great buy-to-let deal. So where do you keep finding them?
There are more around than you think, actually. When you when I generally look at it, I'll look at quite a big radius, so I go all the way around. So Stratford, the district basically, so that takes me into Bidford, Wellesbourne, all the villages, Henley, and there are actually quite a few. Sometimes the hardest thing is picking the best one, because there's actually quite a lot to choose from. Okay. So I think as a market, there's a lot to go for. You just need to take a little bit of time just to research it, and they are there, and you can find them.
And I suppose there are different elements that come into play, aren't there? So, what condition it's already in, if you need to spend any money, if you want to combat having a void period, things like that. So there's different bits to think about.
I think the biggest thing on buy-to-let is you need to decide why you do it. So you've got two choices. Essentially, they break into you get capital appreciation or you win on your yield. So if you're trying to live off the rent, so you're using it as a retirement assistance vehicle, then your yield is more important than your capital appreciation. But if you're looking at it more long-term, then the capital appreciation generally is more important. So there are a number of different factors that you need to consider. But
from your own personal position, really,
exactly, exactly right. But the result of it is it's still proven, as we said previously in other episodes, it is still a great investment vehicle, as we looked at against the gold.
Absolutely, the gold.
Yeah.
Right, now it's time for your home styling tip. This is one of my personal favourites so far. You'll probably guess why. Let's have a look.
I'm sure you'll agree this is just a fantastic idea. I think the simplicity is just beautiful. You just use corrugated iron, some timber, that is it. I mean, it's raw materials at its basic, but the design is phenomenal. Very much that industrial style which is in at the moment. I just think it's a fabulous use of space. So if you do have a little bit of area in your garden that you maybe not fully utilising, I think this is what you should be putting in. I know I'm certainly going to be talking to the wife about getting one in, so thanks a lot.
So, what a great tip. Amazing. Bet you all loved that one.
Oh, I loved it. And a massive thank you both to Anna and Alistair for allowing us to do that. It was really kind of them. But yeah, very glad I did, because I'm trying to twist Leah's arm now to try and get us to have one.
Oh, I think you can't have a no from that at all. Definitely
no.
Not
Actually, I've already showed her and she said, why don't we have one of those? So I think it's an easy sell. So
that's a done deal.
Yeah,
definitely.
Done deal. It is great. It's just like the simplicity of it, which is brilliant. Really
and yeah, minimal materials, but great impact and incredibly useful.
Well, do you know what? Do you know why I love it as well? Is because often in this country the weather's not that great, so you sit indoors, and actually it's quite nice to look at something in your garden. It's a focal point in your garden. So even if you're not actually in the bar using it, it's quite nice to sit in the house and have something to look at.
And it's a conversation piece as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a really great addition, and I think it's just simplistic. The style's great. So yeah. Really good idea.
Yeah, really cool. And also, guys, don't forget, if you'd like to take part and be featured, don't hesitate, get in touch. We're looking at all different aspects, any ideas, even if they seem a bit off the wall, don't hesitate, just get in touch with us.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Please do, yeah.
Now we're going to move on to our event.
Joe's events.
Maybe jump that time.
Yeah.
So,
it's Stevie Wonder with the sunglasses. Where did you get those from?
So this event actually did officially open yesterday, but it's the Warwickshire Open Studios. So it has been running now for quite a number of years. So set up in the year 2000. It's a group of artists and it's very much a self-funded organisation. So artists across Warwickshire will be opening up their homes, their studios, so that you can go in, engage with them, look at their collections, maybe talk about getting a bespoke commission created, purchasing a piece of artwork. You could even do your Christmas shopping. There's all sorts of gifts. So it's across the whole of Warwickshire. Go onto the Warwickshire Open Studios webpage and you'll have a whole map, so you can sort of even plan a route and have a really nice day out, perhaps going to places that you wouldn't normally go to, and just experiencing what the artists have got out there. Now there will be painting, sculpture, photography, ceramics, jewellery making, metalwork. There'll be a whole array, so I do think there'll be something for everybody, and there will be a sliding scale in terms of price point as well. So it's something you can take children along to. It's a great learning curve as well. They'll be able to see artists sort of making things, and I think seeing things created and seeing them in the situation that they're made gives quite an exciting prospect, especially to little ones, because then they can see the whole journey, and it's a bit more within reach, isn't it? So, can even be if you're an artist yourself, all of the artists will be happy to chat to you. It will be running until the 30th, so you have got a nice window of time, so you could plan a few days out really. But check out the website, because then you can sort of really maximise the time. I've had a bit of a sneaky preview, so there's some great things to have a little look at.
That's a wrap. Thanks for watching again. That's the end of episode 5. So remember to live, love and invest.